In the last sample, I showed you how to use XPath 2.0 in an end-to-end application, and I used a model of a servlet that would then invoke XPath for filtering, would put the data into Java Beans, and then redirect to a JSP for presentation. With XSLT 2.0, I can skip some of that and streamline some of that. What if I was to skip the sticking the data into Java Beans and just take the output of the XML and transform it and view it straight as XHTML, which is a version of HTML that is governed by an XML schema and is true XML. So I've done that in the second end-to-end sample. So you'll see a very, very similar looking from the user's perspective example of end-to-end XSLT 2.0. And you can see it looks very similar. I put in a profile ID. I get the blogs. I'm looking for something in the last 12 months, and you can see it returns all the same comments that are questionable. How was this implemented? How is it different? So you can see a very similar servlet here. You can see now that I get the post in, and you can see that I get the profile ID and I get the blog ID and I get how many months ago you want to search for comments. But now, instead of invoking the XPath class that was doing the filtering, now I just go directly to XSLT. So you can see I create a dynamic context. Again, that's where things get put that are dependent on the runtime invocation. And I bind into that dynamic context the profile ID that was passed in. I create an input source, very similar to what I did with XPath. I go out and get it in the exact same way. But now, instead of putting the data into Java Beans and redirecting to a JSP and having the JSP pull the data out of the beans, I just take an XSLT and write the results right to the servlet's output stream. And I execute this get all blogs XSLT executable. I'll show you how that's defined in a second. Very similarly for the comments, if you remember from the last sample, I bound in data for vulgar names. I bound in data for the length of time someone wants to search for comments, and I bound in the legacy content analysis function call. And again, I get the data and I write directly to the output of the servlet, and I execute the get all comments XSLT. So how was the get all blogs and get all comments XSLT implemented? When the servlet got initialized, you'll see it calls the initialize XSL method, and you can see up here I actually define the get all comments and get all blogs XSLTs. I just directly instead of preparing an XPath expression, which was what we saw in the last sample, I prepare something that's coming from an XSL file. And I've got one for blogs and I've got one for comments. I define very similar to the XPath. I don't have anything in the static context for looking for blogs, but in the static context for looking for the comments, you can see, again, I define that there will be a vulgar names variable coming from Java, there will be a search number of months coming from Java, and that there will be a function legacy content analysis.